There's power in the factory, power in the land, power in the hand of the worker. But it all amounts to nothing if together we don't stand. There is power in a union. Now the lessons of the past are all learned with workers.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Manns. I'd like to welcome you to the April 4th Coalition Show. This is the June 29th edition, 2026 edition of the show. The April 4th Coalition's mission statement is, we are for workers' rights and collective bargaining rights and are against tax breaks for the rich, corporations who ship our jobs overseas. Dick, which ones would you like for the
I'll
Article
do 1 and
23?
2. Everyone has the right to work, the free choice of employment, the just and favorable conditions of work, and protection against unemployment. Number 2, everyone without any discrimination has the right to equal pay for equal work.
Number 3, everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, which is any form of compensation, ensuring for himself or herself and his or her family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented, if necessary, by other means of social protection.
And number 4, everyone has the right to form and join trade unions for the protection of his or her interests.
Okay, and as always, we would like to thank the fabulous staff at the Gateway Collaborative Media for their assistance in producing the show. Without them, we would not be here. And also, assuming WNMB is not part of Gateway, or if it is, we thank the program director for airing the audio portions on the public access radio stations on Friday at 6 p.m. I'm back, you're back, Holly's back.
Right here.
It's great to be together. We're on the cusp of the 4th of July.
Yes, we are.
It's coming up.
250th.
250th anniversary of the
Yeah.
Declaration, right?
Yeah, which reminds me that I'll look at this so I can read it. On July 18th, which is a Saturday, there'll be a big event at the Greylock Glen celebrating the 250th. It's on Gould Road in Adams. It's free. There's a free shuttle from Hoosick Street in Adams and from the Visitor Center. There's going to be an 18th century cook. Tim Abbott is doing reenactments. There's going to be a drum and fife corps. There's going to be a 13-gun salute. There's children's craft fair and activities. There's going to be artisan crafts, and there'll be demonstrations. There's a collection for a time capsule. There'll be food trucks and more, and it's free. It's open to the family.
Exciting.
Yeah,
That
so
is
it's going to
great.
start at 11 a.m. and go to 3 p.m. at the Greylock Glen. People have been working. I'm amazed at the amount of work that the volunteers are doing to get this off the ground. And the reason why it's on July 18th, because the Declaration of Independence was signed on July 4th, but due to transportation reasons, they couldn't fax it or
No, they had to
it took
pony
till
it.
it took till the July 18th for the Declaration of Independence to reach Massachusetts. So what's happened is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is sending out a copy of the Declaration of Independence to every community in Massachusetts, and they're trying to coordinate in regions to have a reading of the Declaration of Independence on July 18th. So this is what it's all about, this whole event. There'll be a ceremonial reading of it. There's going to be someone dressed up as George Washington, and there's another person going to be dressed up like a town crier, and there will be Native American representation there too.
That's
so
great.
it's
That
a
is
big
cool.
event, July
Yeah.
18th, and
it should be celebrated. We should learn all that stuff because it's kind of getting lost in
It's getting
Right.
lost. It's getting lost in the years
Right.
and in all the noise.
right.
It's important that where we
Right.
know where we came from.
Right, and it's kind of moving if you hear it written, you hear the written word, and
Well, I'll be
what
there.
I always said, I hope you can be there. I hope the people can get there. There's signs all over. Hopefully, you'll be able to make it. There'll be ice cream and stuff for the kids, and raffles
cool.
and books and stuff to be given away. But that Declaration of Independence, it says that
All created equal.
We're all created equal and endowed by the Creator
given
with certain
certain
inalienable rights. And
Which means unquestioned
right.
rights.
And among those, not all of them, but among those is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But then, so 1948, we came up with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which
we did.
expounded those, just like we went over Article 23 about the workers' rights. You know, all the other rights are in here. And because of what's going on in and outside of our country right now, it's there's marginalized people all over the world that are being pushed to the side. And
I was thinking about that today, Dick. I was watering my garden, and I thought, as a generation, I feel like I say we, but as a generation, we give so much energy to be indifferent and to separate ourselves. And if we could just use that energy and that emphasis to stand up, even though it is really, we're in a scary, isolating, polarizing time, I just wish sometimes we could all just get along. And that's what those Universal Book of Human Rights is all about. It's so important.
right.
And
So we had a
glad they
video
exist.
because Eleanor Roosevelt was key. I know a lot of our ancestors, my father, some grandfathers, whatever, participated in World War II. They fought against fascism. And after that terrible war,
We came up with this idea.
the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and Eleanor Roosevelt was a leader in that.
Okay, here we
All
go.
right, let's check it out.
What are human rights? Are those rights the same everywhere? For everyone? For generations, we struggled with these questions. Then Eleanor Roosevelt and the United Nations set out to answer them.
Recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world.
As we emerged from World War II, a conflict that killed tens of millions and left millions more with nowhere to go, Eleanor Roosevelt became chairperson of the newly formed United Nations Commission on Human Rights. We won the war, she said. Now we need to work to win the peace.
Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security.
She saw the possibility for international standards for human rights in the post-war world, but also the need to act quickly as Cold War tensions grew between the United States and Soviet Union.
Everyone has the right to freedom of thought and religion.
18 countries took part in the first Commission on Human Rights. They sent experts on law, legislation, religion, and philosophy who asked questions like, what are human rights? What is personhood? And what comes first, the rights of the individual or the interest of the community?
Everyone has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty.
With so many different backgrounds and beliefs in the room, finding common ground proved difficult. Eleanor Roosevelt needed all of her diplomatic skill to keep the group making progress. Meeting after meeting, for over 2 years, they hammered out 7 drafts of the new document. And like any good diplomat, she knew that often the toughest problems get resolved outside the room.
Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression.
When the United Nations General Assembly voted on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in December 1948, not a single nation opposed it. The room applauded Eleanor Roosevelt, who smiled while she famously continued her knitting.
Everyone has the right to peaceful assembly.
Since the Declaration passed, critics have argued that it's idealistic because it's non-binding, that it forces Western ideas on the world as a new form of colonialism, and that the great powers manipulate it for purposes of propaganda. all while repression of freedoms and atrocities still make the news.
Everyone has the right to seek asylum from persecution.
But the Declaration has profoundly impacted human rights worldwide, influencing the language of national constitutions, laws, and more than 70 human rights treaties. Eleanor Roosevelt called it a living document, part of an ongoing effort throughout our lives and the lives of our children to improve human rights.
Everyone has the right to education.
It's through our own education that each generation can answer the question, what are human rights? And continue to advance them for everyone. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, we have to decide whether it's worth the effort, and that requires character and courage and conviction.
Particularly fitting that here tonight should be the person who's been the leader in this movement, assisted though she has been by many others, the person who was raised to even greater honor, so great a name. I refer, of course, to Mrs. Roosevelt, the delegate of the United States.
Okay, got it.
We need to like lobby to have this in schools, or like think of some fun way to like bring this to children and young adults, so that it rolls off their tongue and they just know about the human rights.
Right.
I mean, I just get so excited. I'm such a small little dot. I'm a small person, but it's so important, and I'm just so passionate about the Universal Book of Human Rights, and it's so important. Everyone should know about it. I feel like there's so many people that don't. We just live, and we just don't even know that these, because it's just so flippant that we live in America and we can live and do whatever we want. But
we take it for granted.
We do.
If anything Trump has done, it has made us more aware of the fact that you can't take it for granted, and that it can just as easily be swept away unless everybody agrees to it.
There's a level of complacency.
There is.
And we're not restless enough. We're not educated enough.
No,
I think.
No, I'll be honest. I didn't know about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights until I started doing this show.
Yeah.
With Dick, up until and I was in my 40s when we started this.
Right. I was aware of human rights, but I never sat down and read them or
40,
learned about them.
But really, I mean, it's very important.
So December 10th is Human Rights Day. So maybe we should have a goal of trying to advocate that on December 10th, schools in our community teach children about the basic human rights.
Yeah.
I know I became educated, when I was a kid, we'd always watch TV shows, and there was always a lot of police shows. And there was a thing called the Miranda rights that came down from the Supreme Court. They had to read you your rights. You have the right to remain silent. And if you waive this,
got educated that way.
Right,
yes.
We got educated because it was repeated enough. So this hasn't been repeated enough, and people are just not aware of it. This transcends nations. This just is human beings. And it's not a religion. It's not one religion. It encompasses all religions. One of the things in the video that I wanted to make note of, it says we had the freedom of opinion and expression. And that is true. There was a quote, there was Senator Moynihan from New York, and he often said, he goes, you have the right to your own opinion, but you don't have the right to your own facts. And I think that's where we're falling short right now. Everybody is in their own little silo about this is what is true. There's no dialogue to agree upon what are the facts. We're taking scientists, we're ripping up scientific research, and those are the facts.
Yeah. Those are the facts, because if you know the facts, You can't argue.
Another
in theory.
TV show, when I was a kid, they had a show called Dragnet, and they were two detectives, and it was a very dry humor thing. It was a reenactment of the police in Los Angeles. But Sergeant Friday, he would always say, "All we want are the facts, ma'am." We don't, the people would start talking about their opinion about all we need are the facts, ma'am. All we want are the facts. But we have to agree upon facts. We have to come to an understanding. And this is one of the things that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights does.
It's designed to do.
It sets up a baseline of these are the basic human rights. Everyone, no matter where they are, have to be guaranteed these rights.
There has to be like a commercial or some kind of, we should do that. We need to like start funding like a GoFundMe campaign. That this is like a 30-second commercial, and we're like, do you know about the universal budget?
Well, I was watching
Call your congressmen, lobby for it to be an educational program. It's very important.
Well, Billy Bragg performed at Mass MoCA, and we always do his introductions to the show. I wasn't able to go to the show. I saw people that were going there. I told him not to mention my name to him because I know I owe him a lot of money because we use his show, we use his song all the time. But I was looking, my daughter was going to the show, so I wanted to share some things about Billy Bragg with her. And I found this one when he talked about Margaret Thatcher. And he talked about after World War II, just like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in England, they were under attack and so many buildings were blown out and whatever. They came to a post-war consensus, that's how he described it, that there were certain basic things, no matter whatever political party you were, you always agreed that people were going to have health insurance, people were going to have free public education, and people were going to have pensions, people were going to have a decent job, and people were going to have housing. That was the basic consensus. No matter what else you argued about, those were the facts. Everybody were going to have those things. And then Margaret Thatcher and we had Ronald Reagan came along, and we got to cut taxes. That's the most important thing. We got to cut taxes. I was listening to the Ralph Nader radio hour from last week, and he was talking about the corporations, the huge corporations making billions of dollars, and they pay nothing. And most times they're even getting subsidized by the government. And
certainly at the startup phase.
Right. What one guy was proposing is whatever they give to their stockholders, 25% of what they give to their stockholders, the government should get that in taxes. We got corporations that are paying nothing. So we can't afford to have housing or health care. It's just awful. I have a friend here in North Adams that is in real declining health. He needs to be in a nursing home. But because the insurance isn't in order, he's not getting the care that he needs. It's obvious.
And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing such an influx of mental health events happening. I don't know if you guys saw, there was just a family that was, unfortunately passed away. And I'm not, people can't afford groceries. There's families moving in together, the economic hardships, and the healthcare hardships, everything. All of these things are just wearing.
But on the other side of the coin, we have a president of the United States and a Congress that wants to increase the defense budget by $500 billion. They're already spending $1 trillion on defense. Or on war, whatever.
We didn't even need.
Right,
we really
$1.5 trillion. You know how much what we could fund with that money?
Oh, you could fund
what we
Social
need.
Security for 50 years. You could fund universal health care for 50
Child
years.
Child care.
You could have better education.
Right.
Housing.
We need better education, better health care.
It probably only takes $2 trillion.
Right. There was a little editorial picture in the Berkshire Eagle a couple days ago, and they had this restaurant, and the guy was sitting at a round table, and his table, the food went from the table to the ceiling. And then there was another person sitting on the ground with no chair and just had this little bone, gnawing on the bone. And this arm came out from behind the stack of the food, and it had the name Musk on it, and it says, "I want that for dessert." They can't.
And isn't that? I mean, but that's just what I was saying. We have so much energy to worry about You know, like it's dog eat dog sort of time that we're in. The big guys want to have their money, they want it all.
Yeah, that's
and
it. They only want one thing, and that's everything.
They want everything.
And the lower middle class and the middle class is suffering, you know? And
they don't give a damn. Do you want to do the other video about
Yeah,
what
let's
is
do
an
that.
asylum speaker?
Yeah, because I want to do it because of the climate change and everything. I want people to understand that, you know, when we have asylum seekers, we have to understand that we might be in that situation. What happened in New Orleans with Katrina, when people were forced to go and leave.
They were essentially asylum.
They were
seeking asylum.
Right.
After
We
Katrina.
might be in that situation. So how would you want yourself to be treated if you were in this situation?
Right.
But let's find out, you know, who is an asylum seeker?
Conflict or persecution force many people to leave their homes in search of safety. But fortunately, people affected by displacement have a right to seek asylum in another country. Asylum seekers are people who have requested protection from conflict or persecution, but their request has not been processed yet. People lodge an asylum application at a relevant authority of a host country, for example, a local asylum office. From this moment on, they are recognised as an asylum seeker. To prove that their request for protection is legitimate, asylum seekers go through a lengthy process. Trained officials will usually conduct a detailed interview with the asylum seeker. The interview helps them find out where the asylum seeker has come from and why they fled. Besides the interview, asylum seekers are usually asked to present identity documents and other materials supporting their application. That can be a passport, a birth certificate, or a marriage certificate. Next, the asylum authority will assess the credibility of the information provided by the asylum seeker. In particular, that means to find out the reasons why they fled and what risks they would face should they return. Processing an asylum application can take a long time. Whilst they wait, asylum seekers usually stay in the host country. In most cases, they have a right to the daily essentials: a place to sleep, meals, and healthcare. Despite this support, life as an asylum seeker can be full of challenges. Many asylum seekers stay in facilities with less privacy than in a private home. Whilst their asylum application is being verified, many of them live with unanswered questions and uncertainties on their status. During the procedure, they may not have permission to work and earn a living and to do other important things in life. Once the whole procedure is complete and every bit of information has been checked, the asylum authority will take a decision. If an asylum claim is rejected, asylum seekers are asked to return to their country and may get assistance to do so. Others try to appeal against the decision. If, however, the asylum claim is accepted, the asylum seeker will be granted protection. This means they gain refugee status or another protective status. Refugees should be granted a right to remain in their host country in safety and dignity. They should have rights to access education, work, healthcare, and other essential services.
There's so many people in this country now seeking asylum, and we're deporting them all. It's just,
you know, yeah, and
the Supreme Court is letting. I
Right.
believe they just made a decision that made it
right. They more or less made a word play saying that if they're not allowed to come into the country, then we don't have to grant them asylum because they're not in the country.
And they're getting sent back to food deserts, job, like crime, everything.
Countries that they have no idea what's going on, and they're put in, before they're sent away, they're put into concentration camps. They call them detention centers, but they're concentration, and it's just awful. That the sickness that occurs when you concentrate people in small areas and don't provide them with the health care, the food, or the water that they need. It's just a horrendous, cruel system. What we're doing is trying to be cruel
Right. Or even means to like a telephone or a lawyer, any of these things that would even get them out of the situation to help them.
We're not living up to the Statue of Liberty's promise of give us as you're poor,
No,
you're hungry.
in your huddled masses,
Masses
yearning to be free.
We're not
Keep your
living up to
kings, but now we just, everything's for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's for sale.
But like you said, with Katrina, we have a level of complacency where we just feel, we know that we're safe. But if a big catastrophic event were to happen, I don't think that our facilities are strong enough and ready enough to really.
Oh no.
So I mean, we, by the grace of God, because we are lucky for what we have every day. We really, really are. Yeah.
And you're right. We are all taking it for granted. I certainly do. I mean, the only difference is when Hurricane Irene was I was out before Irene wiped out the spruces because I used to be a resident of the spruces. I had moved maybe 2 years before that. Nothing told me to move. I was just tired of living in a mobile home park.
But if you look at it like that, those people were displaced, and if you're just displaced, it just is what it is. You got to find a new place.
You're an asylum person once you're displaced. You're seeking asylum. It doesn't matter whether it's outside the country or inside.
And what the Supreme Court did in their ruling recently, 6-3, in the minority opinion, they drew the analogy, and it was after World War. It was during World War II that there was ships of Jewish people fleeing Germany that came to the American shore and were turned back. Right. They were seeking asylum from the Holocaust, we didn't welcome. We sent them back, and many of those were killed. And the justices, the minority justices, mentioned this is what you're doing. You're bringing us back to what happened before, and this is what created the idea of guaranteeing people the right to seek and enjoy asylum in other countries.
And when they were turned away, I mean, a lot of them were sent to Middle East. So you have people, Israel's fighting.
No, but this was during World War II. Right. They were sent back to Europe.
They were sent back to Germany.
And a lot, It was during the Holocaust. It was horrible.
So it was essentially
I did meet one woman that was, she was from Ukraine. She lived on my mail route, and Mrs. Piacentia. And she left, because Russia wasn't welcoming to her, she moved, and she had to go, she tried to go to the United States, ended up going to Cuba, and then from Cuba she got into the United States. But the generation that fought World War II and lived during World War II, they understand what it was like. But we have no sympathy now.
Let's say a lot of us don't have sympathy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to paint the whole country as
No, but I think it's a lack of education and
Well, the leadership, what I'm trying to say, the leadership is not showing any sympathy
whatsoever, and
it's almost cruel.
They seem to think nothing bad's ever going to happen here, and look out when it does come.
Yeah, or they just there's a
or they don't understand that someday we might need this kind of help.
Or it's just racism, that these people are black or brown. And they're not of the same religion that a majority of the people in the United States are, and so they don't have to offer them their human rights because they're not human if they don't look like me, or what I feel is
the desensitizing, or bringing up the other again into your life. There is no other.
No, and there's a big group of people that are just like, well, that's how I was raised, so that's what and it takes all of us. It takes our leadership, it takes parents, it takes each and every one of us to be brave enough to say, whoa, hey now, it doesn't have to be like that. And for us to advocate for all of us, for each other, I think is very important. Very important.
What I did was I picked up this book, Resurrection by Leo Tolstoy. I've read it twice before, maybe 40 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, but I reread it again. And it's an interesting story because it takes someone that was very high class, and he ends up changing his life, and he enters the prison system and starts meeting who's in prison and tries to hear what their story is. And it's really eye-opening, and it reminds me a lot of of what's going on here. He even quotes Henry David Thoreau in here saying that in an unjust society, the only place for a just person is in prison.
Yeah.
Wise words.
Very
Well,
wise.
thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and
enjoy the 4th of July
Yeah,
celebration.
happy 4th of
Yeah,
July.
happy 4th of July. Be safe and enjoy and reread the Declaration of Independence. But after you read that, read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Yeah.
Because that is better explaining what
it'll really speak to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Power to the people.
Thank you.
Mistakes of the bosses we must pay for. From the cities and the farmlands to trenches full of mud. War's always been the bosses' way, sir. The Union forever defending our rights. Down with the black level workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters in many far-off lands. There is power in a union. Now I long for the morning that they realise brutality and unjust laws cannot defeat us.